Okay, in today's lesson, we're going to look at the unit circle, but all the quadrants. And so far, we've been mainly looking in the first quadrant, but we're going to see how if you know the angle or what the x and y value in the first quadrant, you can also find that. That means you'd be able to find the x and y values in the other quadrants. So just looking up here at quadrant 1, when we had we found a point up here, A and B, and we can work that out if we know the angle that it's moved from the 0 degrees mark. So if we look at, so we've got 0 degrees here. If we look that if it's gone up, and we know sine whatever angle it went up equals the y value, so the b. So over here where we said sine angle, that would equal b according to our axes there. And if I said cos that angle, that will give me the x value, which is a for the point that we've moved. Now, if you move exactly the same angle, say from over here when we have 180 degrees and we go backwards, so if you look there, we've gone 180. So we could say, really, if it's 180, we can say pi or 180 minus that angle. If you have a look there, you can see that our b value is the same because it's up here on the higher y. So if you were trying to find the value of y at pi minus an angle, it will be the same as if it was at just the same if you just had this sine angle. So if we're at pi minus a certain amount of angle, we will get, see, in this case, so we're saying the angle's the same. So at pi minus, the sine value or the y value is actually the same. Is actually the same. Now, if you look out here, though, our x value, we're actually out in the negative part of x. So it's the same distance as the beginning, but we're in the negative value. So we would say that cosine pi minus the angle is the same as, but negative a. Okay, so this way we can, if you know the answer, the xy value in the first quadrant, you know the answer for the xy value once you've moved a certain angle in all 4 quadrants. Now down here on this unit circle, we're stating what the values of x and y are. So in this first quadrant here, all the functions, so if you had sine angle, it'll be a positive, cos would be a positive answer, and tan angle would be a positive answer. If you're over here in the second quadrant, only sine is positive, and we saw that before. We saw the x value, so the cosine's negative, and tan will be negative too, because tan theta equals sine theta over cos theta. So that one will be negative in the third. Down here, when they both sine and cos are negative, that makes tan positive in the third, and cosine is the only one that's positive in the fourth quadrant. So you can use that fact to make your answering quicker. So let's have a look at some questions. So up here in the questions, they have told me that if sine the angle is 0.42 and cos x is 0.7 and tan alpha is 0.8, then find sine pi plus theta. So if you have a look here, I have shown on the first one, here, we start at pi because they want me to find sine pi plus theta. So we go pi plus theta. Now, originally, if we'd moved theta up here, it said, well, they said that the sine value, which we know is the y value, they said it was 0.42. So if we've gone down here, you can see we would have gone, so I'll just change colours, this distance, we've gone the same distance but down into the negative. And if you remember from the cast, only tan is positive. So if I'm asking what sine theta plus the angle is, it is going to be the same but negative, so 0.42. Okay, so down here in question B, they want me to say what 2 pi minus alpha is. So they gave me originally what tan alpha is, and they said that that was when you had, if you were up here, tan alpha equaled up in the question, they told me 0.38. So because I'm in this quadrant here, only cosine is positive, so it'll equal the same, I'm down in the fourth quadrant, the same as here, but negative. So I go 0.38. Okay, and the last example, so they want me to go pi minus x. So remember, we move anti-clockwise is the forward, that's the positive direction. So if we have to go minus, we go backwards. So they want the cosine. So remember, that's the x value. So we were out here. And that would be the same as if we went up x, that one, but it'll be negative. So they told me that it was 0.7. So the answer for pi minus is negative 0.7. Okay, we're just going to summarize this up a little bit on the next page. So if we were summarizing, we can see if we go cosine minus the angle, so here we would be going the clockwise, we can see it's equal, that's the same value as if you went the normal or anti-clockwise. So cos negative theta, you'll get the same value as cos theta, and we know that because we said that in the fourth quadrant, this would put us into the fourth quadrant, and in the fourth quadrant, cosine's positive. So if you look at this next statement, if we go sine minus theta, well, we'll be in the fourth quadrant still, but sine's negative. So we're going to say sine's negative in the fourth quadrant. And if we go tan minus theta, that puts us in the fourth quadrant, but we know tan's negative, so we see that. So you can find out lots of values. So here, they're going to say find if sine x equals 0.6. So that's when you're in the first quadrant, it equals that. Find the value of sine pi minus x. So pi, you'd be over here at pi, and we'd go backwards, minus x. So we are in the, the second quadrant. So when we're in the second quadrant, if you think of cast, sine is positive, so it'll be the same, 0.6. Okay, if we go 2 pi minus x, that will put us in the fourth quadrant. And in the fourth quadrant, sine's negative. So we're going to say that equals negative 0.6. If we go pi plus theta, that will put us in the third quadrant where sine's negative. So we know it equals negative 0.6. Okay, so here we do cosine. If we're at 180, that's the same as saying we're at pi. So if we go pi plus x, that puts us into the third quadrant. And we know that cosine is negative, so it'll be negative 0.8. If you go 180 minus, that takes us back to the second quadrant, and cosine is still negative in that quadrant. If we go 360 minus, that takes us to the fourth quadrant. And we know cosine's positive there, so that'll be 0.8. And if we go minus, that's the same as this one. They're the same, which puts us in the fourth. So it's the fourth quadrant, which means it's positive. So it's the same value they gave me.